Mic'd up.
Everybody, it's On the Tee. Florida is mic'd up on the Shipyard Sports Connection Network from Tampa Bay to New England. I'm John Reger, mic'd up PGA broadcaster, and your host of this episode called Wild Bill's PGA Tour Weather and Golf Banter, coming to you from the Sea Dog Brewing Company St. Augustine studio and the Backyard Golf Association headquarters in Gainesville, Florida. Hey, this week it's the John Deere Classic from TPC DEERE RUN in the Quad City of Silvis, Illinois. It is 54th year on the PGA Tour. Not only will we hear about the weather forecast, which always plays an integral part of the outcome, we'll also include some banter about some of the special things surrounding this event, including being the last chance to qualify for the 154th Open Championship at Royal Birkdale in July. Now it's time for Wild Bill Storoe for his take on this week's weather from the John Deere Classic TPC DEERE RUN in Silvis and the state in which he was born, Illinois.
Woohoo! Howdy, Coach, and happy 250th birthday to our country coming up. This is Wild Bill reporting to you live remotely as Wild Bill's Golf Weather Report follows the PGA Tour to TPC DEERE RUN near the Quad Cities region along the bluffs of the Rock River in Silvis, Illinois. Now, that is my home state, John, as you said, and you might have noticed that I said Illinois and not Illinois. That's because the S is the word Illinois actually comes from the indigenous origins of the Illinois tribe with a combination of some French adaptations, adding the OIS, forming the word Illinois. But once again, that S is silent. You might have noticed that I didn't use the word silent at first to emphasize that the S is, it is Illinois. So now that that is settled, hopefully I'm never going to hear the word Illinois ever again. Yay!
Oh my
Now
God,
that's
you're
done.
making a lot of Illinois right now.
A lot of noise. So with that being said, let's talk about TPC DEERE RUN.
Yeah.
TPC DEERE RUN is a premier 18-hole par 71 public championship course located in Silvis, altogether now, Illinois. Yay, no S. All right. This course is spanning over 365 acres along the Rock River, designed by D.A. Wiebring in association with the PGA Tour Design Services. It has been serving as the permanent home for the John Deere Classic for the last 26 years since its opening in the year 2000. TPC DEERE RUN is a par 71 that stretches out to 7,258 yards from the championship tees. The signature hole for the TPC DEERE RUN is a dramatic 16th hole, short par 3, sitting on a bluff 40 feet above the Rock River. It requires a very short iron and regularly yields multiple birdie opportunities and even a couple holes in one per tournament. TPC DEERE RUN offers some unique layout features. The natural topography of this former Arabian horse and cattle farm, which has been largely preserved, offers some sweeping vista-type views, numerous elevation changes, and the Rock River is visible from 9 out of the 18 holes. That's 50% for all you mathematicians out there.
Wow.
So, how is the TPC DEERE RUN going to play regarding our incoming weather conditions? Well, extreme heat and humidity make the course obviously play longer and softer, while hot air does reduce the air density and allow the golf balls to travel farther, but this benefit is often offset by the thick growing rough and the heat-struck stresses on the turf and the greens, which will modify how these players attack this course. Extreme heat and humidity causes grass to grow much more rapidly, resulting in thicker, heavier roughs that penalize these wayward drives. Course superintendents also have to syringe or water the greens on a regular basis or more frequently to prevent the heat stress, which results in these green surfaces being softer and slowing the putts down tremendously. However, rain and wet conditions often soften the rest of the course, considerably yielding less rollout on tee shots, but allowing players to hit some darts on the greens with more spin and stopping balls on a dime. Now, wind. Wind is the course's nemesis. The course is highly exposed in certain areas, making ball flight incredibly sensitive to gusts of wind. Strong breezes often lead to players to focus on lower flighted, punchier type shots to avoid wayward balls from gusting winds and landing in that thick rough. Now, with that being said, however, this week's weather, TPC, is going to affect this week's John Deere Classic. This week's weather begins on Wednesday, hot and dry, with sunshine and temperatures above 90 degrees, which is going to dry out that course tremendously for Thursday, when temperatures will also reach above 90 degrees, with some clouds moving in. However, the rain does seem likely to start around 7 p.m. Thursday night and will continue overnight, which is going to lead to softer fairways and greens on Friday. Now, Friday, the sunshine does start early, but clouds start moving again around 10 o'clock, and the chances of rain start around noon. Temperatures are still going to go above 90 degrees at 2 o'clock, and there's going to be an increased chance of thunderstorms and lightning for the rest of the day. Rain's going to continue overnight to early morning on Saturday, leaving the course wet and soft. The sun's going to start coming in around 9, 10 o'clock, with the temperatures once again reaching over 90 degrees and steaming up that course all day long, and everything should be quite soft from all that rain. But this is most likely going to result in a very hot and humid afternoon with temperatures well into the 90s. And I'm willing to bet that all that sweat running off our players' arms is going to dampen those greens even more. Now, Saturday night, rains are going to begin around 7 p.m. and continue all evening and increase in the morning, with the possibility of some sun and clouds moving in on Sunday. But the thunderstorms look like they're going to start around 1 o'clock when the final pairings begin to tee off and continue till early evening. It looks like it's going to be a wet, wet Sunday, John. Winds appear that they're going to be variable throughout the week between 5 and 15 miles an hour, resulting in the possibility of numerous wayward shots off the tee landing in that thick, thick rough. You're going to need a lot of people looking for those lost golf balls there, John. Now, with that being said, it appears that the course is going to be fairly soft during this tournament, meaning that players are going to have to carry their drives the distance that they're looking for and hit those fairways to stay out of that thick, thick rough. But there should be some darts on the green and balls should be stopping on a dime. It should be an exciting tournament this week, John, at the TPC DEERE RUN for the John Deere Classic. Now, with that being said, that's Wild Bill's Golf Report reporting to you live remotely from the 2026 John Deere Classic at TPC DEERE RUN in Silvis, Illinois, my home state with a silent S, and the Backyard Golf Association down here in Florida, where there's no S's in our state name. Wild Bill is signing out, and remember, nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, runs like a deer. Back to you, John. Woohoo!
Every time we do one of your Wild Bill's golf weather and from the PGA Tour, I have to ask this question. What in the world are you wearing?
I am wearing a Nike shirt with the John Deere emblem. I actually made this myself, and my John Deere hat. And I do have some authentic golf gloves from John
Look
Deere.
at that. Oh, my goodness. I got to up my prop budget. I mean, all I brought was a rake.
A rake.
I just try to, fit into this theme here, but you got John Deere logoed everything. Are you jockeying for I know this is a shameless plug for John Deere, but you must, you got 15 acres out there to mow. So, you might need a John Deere mower out there to take care of that.
I do need a new tractor. I'm telling you, just so everybody knows out there, Wild Bill's available for promotions and we'll negotiate.
Hey, one of the things we talked about earlier was when I introduced you, was talking about the 154th Open Championship. And that means that for us, Yanks, we call it the British Open.
Yep.
But it's the Open Championship, the longest running golf tournament in the world. And this is the last qualifier.
This is the last qualifier.
This is the last qualifier. And I think that they take the top so many that aren't previously qualified. And we're talking like a handful of people, especially if you win it. But years past, they used to have it where the Open Championship was like the very next week. And the folks that organized this tournament actually chartered a plane. So after they finish on Sunday, they all get flown over to Scotland, wherever they're having the Open Championship. But also right before the Open Championship is the Scottish Open. And so this is the last domestic tournament in the United States before everybody heads over the seas. And the beauty of the Scottish Open and the Open Championship, it gives you an opportunity to wake up at like 2 a.m. and watch some golf. So that's one of the cool things. Hey, one of the things about the John Deere tournament too, and our host of On the Tee Florida, Mike Rickard, also he's the host and owner of the Tampa Sports Connection. Okay, Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection. He is from Iowa, and the Quad Cities are right there. Okay, so there's some Iowa cities and Illinois cities. And he is just heads over heels about Zach Johnson, Ryder Cup champion, twice major champion. You know, he won the Open Championship, he won the Masters. And so every broadcast we normally have on the T Florida, which this is being aired, always talks about the great state of Iowa.
Iowa. Yeah.
So, but some great golfers have come out of there, and certainly Zach Johnson's one of them. Hey, here's another really cool thing about this tournament. Carrie Underwood's performing. Now, think about that. You know, you get tour events, you know, and people perform, but Carrie Underwood. And so the tournament.
Underwood, not underwear.
Oh, that was we call that a Freudian slip, don't we? Yeah. So Carrie Underwood. Okay. Well, she's performing on Saturday night, July 4th. Which is pretty cool because this tournament's going on to the 250th anniversary, obviously, of our country, big celebrations everywhere. Woo! So that's pretty cool. That is an absolutely cool thing. Well, you know, one of the things you did mention, 26 years at the TPC Deere Run. And, you know, if you watch it on television, I've never personally been there. And I know that you do these golf weather reports remotely, live
remotely.
Right. And so, but it looks like a fantastic course. Looks like a great time for all the spectators and everybody who lives in that area. And they've done a tremendous job raising a lot of monies. In fact, one of the things they do, they have birdies for charities, which is probably where this whole originated. Every time you go to a tour event, they have some sort of birdies for charity thing, and it started there at the John Deere Classic. So, well, Bill, I can tell you that it's always fun talking golf with you. And there you have it. You've been listening to On the Tee Florida's Mic'd Up, featuring Wild Bill's golf weather and banter on the Shipyard Sports Connection Network from Tampa Bay to New England, brought to you by Sea Dog Brew Pub, Treasure Island. I'm your host, Mic'd Up PGA broadcaster John Reger. And along with Wild Bill Storoe, always remember to carry an umbrella in case it rains. See you next week, everybody.